Hey. Alright, so would you be so kind as to introduce yourself and tell us about your history?
Yeah, thanks for having me and talking about my book. My name's Graham E. Hancock. I am a huge Lego fan. I'm the editor of Blocks magazine, which is a monthly magazine all about Lego for Lego fans who absolutely love everything about the brick. And I'm now the author of Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity, which is our big new coffee table book that celebrates 25 years of Lego Star Wars.
Thank you very much. So, as the author behind the upcoming Lego Star Wars Force of Creativity, other than celebrating 25 years of Lego Star Wars, what other motivations did you have that inspired you to pursue this project?
So, as a huge lifelong Lego fan and a huge lifelong Star Wars fan, this was kind of a dream project for me because it just combines these two things that I completely love. And I know how much Lego Star Wars means to other people as well. So my goal with the project was to do something that really does justice to 25 years of Lego Star Wars, that looks at all of the different things through the years that has made it special. The sets, the video games, the animated specials, the minifigures, all the big installations and activations that have been done over the years, everything that makes Lego Star Wars super special to people.
Fair enough. Consisting of 312 pages, would you be so kind to provide a brief outline of the type of content readers will be able to find in the contents of the book?
So yeah, we split the book up into themed chapters so that we were covering all the different things that I talked about within Lego Star Wars. So we wanted to start off with something that would really get the reader thinking about design and like Star Wars design, because of course you can't have Lego Star Wars without Star Wars. So we talked to Doug Chang, who's I don't remember his actual job title, but Doug Chang, the design legend. We can say that. That's enough to describe him. Everyone knows who Doug Chang is. He's one of the people most responsible for the visual language of Star Wars. So we open with a prologue that's a conversation between him and the Lego Star Wars design director, Jens Kromvold Fredriksson. And the two of them really set up the book, explain what their different perspectives are on design, how you come at it from a movie angle, how you come at it from a toy angle. And then after that, we delve into the history of Lego Star Wars, how it all started off in 1999. And then we go into how the sets are made and designed, how the minifigures are designed, how they think about Lego design and Star Wars design and bringing those two things together. We talk about the video games and we talk about how those early video games were developed, what set the template for every other Lego video game that's come since. We talk about the animated specials, how they've evolved, how again they take Star Wars but put a Lego twist on it with all of the humor and the comedy that comes in with those. So yeah, we really go through each different part of the Lego Star Wars experience chapter by chapter.
When did work on Lego Star Wars The Force of Creativity first begin?
It was about a year for me from the start to the finish of the project in terms of writing it. But luckily, a lot of the research I'd already been doing over the years, just through being a massive Lego Star Wars fan. Like, I remember still in 1999, the first time that I saw Lego Star Wars sets in Toys R Us, and it just completely blew my mind. So without knowing it, I've been prepping to write this book for 24 years, and then
And then it finally happened.
Exactly. No one told me I was going to have to write a book, but I was doing the homework for it anyway.
Preparation in advance, I like it. So, as you are a passionate fan of Lego Star Wars, what was the first set you ever built?
It was Darth Vader's TIE Advance versus Y-Wing. So, and it was just so special because the box was different to a normal Lego box. Like, it had fancier packaging. When you got the instructions open, there were little stills from the film in the top of the pages and things. And the thing that I vividly remember the most is sliding Darth Vader's helmet over Anakin Skywalker's scarred face for the first time.
Yes.
And seeing that as a minifigure and thinking, oh my goodness, this is a Star Wars minifigure. This is just what I know from a normal Lego minifigure, but Star Wars. And the helmet was so intricate. And now we take all of this for granted because there's so many of these amazing intricate Lego Star sets. But back then, it was completely new. It was completely fresh. And it was just, so, you know, there's a reason I've been hooked on it for 25 years.
And what was the last set you have built?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, I'll tell you what, actually. I built, so for May the 4th last year, Lucasfilm employees were given a very special exclusive set, which was the Yoda fountain.
Yes.
That sits outside the Lucasfilm headquarters, but obviously a very rare set only for employees of Lucasfilm. So in the book, we've got some bonus items, and one of those is the instructions
on how to build it, and you've, because I saw this in another interview you did, you've already checked online to make sure all pieces are available, which they are.
Well, my order for those pieces turned up the other week. So the latest set that I built was the Yoda fountain using the instructions that come with the book, and I've now got my own Lego Star Wars Yoda fountain sat on my desk, and I'm so happy to have that because it was one of those things that we were really excited to put in with the book, and now to actually have my own version of it built using the official instructions, it's just a thrill.
Bonus question, do you have a photo of that? Because I will need to see that.
I will send you a photo as soon as we're done.
Perfect. Okay. So having had the chance to see how much Lego Star Wars has grown over 4 decades from the 90s to now, what has that experience been like for you, and what would you say has been Lego Star Wars' greatest achievement?
Wow, that's a really good question, because there's been different phases to Lego Star Wars, and it has really shifted over time. Like, if you think back to those first sets, like that TIE Fighter versus Y-Wing set looked amazing at the time, but when you look back at it now compared to what Lego Star Wars does today, it looks a bit blocky, it's not as sophisticated. And it's no surprise when you think about it, because at the time, they were still using roof slope pieces to try and make curves. So the pieces they were using to shape the spaceships had originally been designed to be house roof pieces, and they were making do with all these different elements. But then after a few years of Lego Star Wars, the Lego system as a whole started to bring in what they called the shape system. And this is where you get slightly curvier elements that are a bit more organic. And they were a game changer for Lego Star Wars, because it meant that when you had like Jango Fett's starship for Attack of the Clones and things like that, you could actually have these things shaped much more closely to what they were like in the movie. And like, if you look at the Trade Federation MTT from 2001 and the one from 2007 and compare them, the first one is so blocky compared to the second one, because they got all these nicer elements that they could use and they could get a better shape on it. And then for me, another big milestone was when the Clone Wars came out in 2008, because the sets were massive. Like, the Twilight was huge, the ATTE was huge, the Republic gunship was huge, and the value for money on them was absolutely phenomenal. And the range that they had was great. Although they had those huge sets, they had lots of small sets, and you could make a really good Clone War out of that product range if you collected a bunch of it. So that was kind of another huge moment where they really stepped up the level of what they were doing and getting into some more obscure vehicles and things as well from the saga. And then ever since then, I think it's really been a process of refining the offering. So they've really nailed how you do those sets for kids, where they look really good on the outside as a model, but then there's minifigure interactivity and things on the inside. But then alongside that, making sure that the sets for adults are even more detailed, even more accurate, even more spot on to what they were, back in the early days of doing the adult Lego Star Wars sets.
Yeah, because I was reading online one of the stories that you shared back when Lego designers actually had to go to Lucasfilm to actually show them the designs and things like that, and he was talking about like the destroyer droids, the rolling one, and they were worried it wasn't going to roll as it should on the day, so they're tinkering it in the hotel room, and luckily it performed as it should. Great.
Well, it's one of the most technically sophisticated Lego sets, because it literally goes from this ball and pops up. So they gave themselves a heck of a challenge to do that in the first place. And the fact they actually managed to execute it and pull it off in the end is incredible. I speak to other fans. I've never met anyone else who managed to get it to work, but I did get it to work. So I assumed that everyone else had that same experience with that set, but maybe not.
There's an idea for the next book, how to make it work.
Yeah.
So, in the last 25 years, the Millennium Falcon has been a vital part of the Lego Star Wars series and has seen quite a few revisions. Which Millennium Falcon set is the one that sticks out the most for you?
For me, it's got to be the first Ultimate Collector Series one, because I remember at the time, I guess, I think I was a student at the time, but I remember not having much money. That's the key memory of staring at that in the Lego store, the huge box that it came in, and thinking, can I justify spending this amount of money on a Lego Star Wars set? Because this is a lot of money. And I also remember saying to a friend, there's no way this will increase in value, because how does a set go up in price beyond £350? How stupid in retrospect was that opinion? But I kind of took the plunge, I saved up, I figured out a way to make it work financially, went home with that set, built it, and it was just the most incredible build experience. I never expected to build anything as sophisticated as that. Like when you compared it to the play scale one that had come before, it was just so next level in every way. And when it was finished, and you put that minifigure next to it, and the scale was right, it was like, the new one is probably better, it's like technically improved, but because of the personal experience of that being the first really big one, that's the one that really kind of has a place in my heart.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. Because it's like, I remember with the one where they had to go bigger just to try and get the 4 minifigures in the cockpit.
Exactly.
Because that was what the fans wanted at the time. And then it happens, and it just looks glorious.
Well, it's like wish fulfillment, isn't it? Like those guys out there in Billund in Denmark designing these models, they're thinking like we think. We're thinking we want a big Millennium Falcon that fits 4 minifigures. And they're thinking, yeah, let's try and do that. Let's see if we can pull that off.
What has been the hardest part for the creation for writing Lego Star Wars, the Force of Creativity?
I think one of the biggest challenges with a project like that is knowing how much you can cover, because you're aiming to when I work on a project like this, I want to get everything into it. I want to fit in everything that we possibly can. But even with a massive 300 and something page, 50 something thousand word book, there are limitations as to what you get in. And there does come a point where you have to say, okay, that doesn't necessarily need to be in there. This really does need to be in there. So that's going to have to be the thing that goes, or, you have to sort of refine things a little bit and take a little thing out here and there. And just that kind of phase of just bringing things down slightly, just to make sure that it fits within the space that you've got and everything. I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge, because, I could have written a 700-page version of this book, but of course, there's always a limitation in terms of format, time. You have to, and it's one of the skills of writing and editing, to be fair, is making sure that that you're doing things in a way that's actually feasible, that's not actually just taking up someone's entire bookshelf with Lego Star Wars.
That's all right. We'll, in like 25 years' time, for the 50th anniversary, we'll get the writer's cut of the Force of Creativity with 25 years extra added on.
That version will need to be 4 times as thick with the amount of Lego Star Wars sets that we'll have had by then.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you can have a director's cut, you can have a writer's cut later on down the line. We'll get that started. Okay, so for you, what has been something new that you have learned about Lego Star Wars that you didn't know until you started writing this book?
I suppose the biggest surprise for me, and this is something that I'd wondered about a few times through the years, is when the Lego Star Wars designers seriously started finalising the models and things that would be released, because the deal was announced in April 1998, I believe, and then the first sets came out in March 1999. That's a really quick turnaround for Lego at that time. At that time, it would have taken them 2 to 3 years to design their sets. And I finally got the answer on that, which is that there've been some rough models, some sketch models to give them an idea of what the Lego Star Wars sets would look like, but they just started to building new ways of working to get the sets done quicker in order to meet the release date. So there were new ways of working that Lego introduced for Lego Star Wars that have gone on to be used across the company for different product lines and things since. Because now it only takes about a year from start to finish to get a Lego set out. But back then they were having to invent that timeline in order to meet the movie release.
As a fan, how big is your Lego Star Wars collection?
It is obscenely big, to be honest. I have way too much Lego in general. I have way too much Star Wars in general. And I have the majority of the Lego Star Wars sets that have been released through the years. I've been pretty diligent in collecting them all. There's a few gaps in my collection that I'm still looking to fill, but it takes up way too much space, and it's lovely having the sets that I have on display, but then all of the stuff that's sort of in boxes and things is just taking up a huge amount of space, as you can imagine.
Well, on the subject of space taking, are there any new or upcoming Lego sets that you hope to add to the collection?
Well, there's a new Imperial Star Destroyer coming that there's pictures out of, and I can't wait to get that. That looks like a lot of fun. Because it's been a while since there's been a play scale Star Destroyer, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they've kind of updated that one and how they've refined the design and everything.
Having worked so extensively on Lego Star Wars The Force of Creativity, would you ever do another book of this scale for other Lego ranges coming up to their 25th anniversary? Or is Star Wars the only hope and one for you?
I think Lego Star Wars is especially special for me because it was the thing that kept me in Lego. I would have probably stopped having Lego as I got to become an older kid and went into my teenage years. I'd have probably put Lego away for a while, but because of Lego Star Wars, I kept buying it, kept into it, and it supercharged my interest as an adult and got me buying all the other themes and things then. So although Lego Star Wars is super special to me though, there's loads of other Lego themes that I love. There's loads of other Lego themes that have got a huge fan following that deserve this kind of book, so fingers crossed there's more to come.
And last question of the day, would you be so kind as to plug Lego Star Wars The Force of Creativity to your heart's content? Release date, price, where to get it, anything you wish to share.
Thank you. Lego Star Wars The Force of Creativity is exclusively available at lego.com. It's out to pre-order now. It comes out on July 20th is the actual publication date. If you love Lego or if you love Star Wars, then I've written this book for you. I've written it in a way that will appeal to both audiences, whichever way you collect from. If you have all the Lego Star Wars sets, then this is going to add to your appreciation of them because it's going to give you all sorts of background and context for them. And if you have a relatively modest Lego Star Wars collection, maybe you don't have room for hundreds of Lego Star Wars sets all over your house, this is a way that you can look at beautiful pictures of loads of different sets from through the years, but without having to have the physical models taking up all of the space. And it's got an amazing time capsule in it as well, with all artifacts from across the history of Lego Star Wars. So yeah, go on lego.com, have a look at what it's all about, and hopefully everyone will really enjoy it.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for your book.